So, I'm back with another video, and yes, we're taking a quick break from the Freiburg series as we have the Champions League coming up very soon, and depending on when I get this out, it might even be tomorrow. But anyways, these are going to be my Champions League predictions for the league phase of this 25-26 Champions League season campaign. We have Liverpool, who were pretty decent, and they're arguably in the top three for the contenders in the Champions League. We have Barcelona, obviously, because they're also in the top three, but also because they're my favorite team. And we are wearing my new PSG retro kit. It's one of my new favorite kits, honestly. I've got Ronaldinho on the back with his number 21 because he wore the number 21 at PSG, and I believe it's in his first season. But regardless, anyways, let's go into my predictions because we're gonna run through every single team number 1 through 36, how I think everybody's going to finish, because I actually I did the entire prediction. I went through all 144 games of the league phase, and I did all the results, and this is what I got. I will show you guys exactly who I placed, where they landed based off of my predictions, and mind you, this is without thinking about injuries or thinking about exactly the time or what games they're facing beforehand. I literally just went based off of those games, home and away, the teams that they have, and just overall how they might do in the Champions League. I could be completely wrong, I could be somewhat okay, and I will point out a few of the key games in my personal opinion, and just some games to watch out for. I'll try to keep it to one game per round, so only 8 games. But anyways, let's go ahead and go into the predictions, starting with the teams that actually will get knocked out. So that's 36 all the way up to 25. We will start at 36, obviously. So in 36, this might be a little bit of a, maybe not controversial, but a little bit of a surprising pick. I know most people would go with Paphos, but I am actually not going for the Cyprus team. I'm going to go with Qarabag. Qarabag did end up in 36. They lost every single game, in my personal opinion. I think they will lose every single game based off of the draw that they got, and I can definitely see that happening, hence why they will land with 0 points, 36 plates. Sorry. But then just one place above that, we do have Paphos. They only got 1 point. That's the main reason why they didn't finish in 36. I do believe they'll scratch maybe 1 point. Just one. Just one. I think, yes, Qarabag will be the only team to not win a single game, but Paphos, I can definitely see them not winning a single game, or not even drawing a single game, but I do see them getting 1 point, hence why I have them in 35th. In 34th, I did not see this coming, but I guess they had a harder run than I thought. It is actually Benfica. I think they're a decent side. Obviously, I mean, they gave Barcelona a very good run for their money. I mean, all 3 times that they faced them. But still, I mean, to have them in 34th, that's very low for me, but it's a little bit of a shock. But they did end up with 4 points. That's 1 win, 1 draw, and 6 losses, in my personal opinion, but a worse goal difference than the next team up, which is Club Brugge, who also landed with 4 points. Same exact total, just a few less goals conceded, or just the goal difference was just a little bit better. And yet, another surprise, because I believe they also made it to the playoff run last season, so I don't know. I could be wrong with this whole prediction. But another prediction that could also be wrong, because they also landed with 4 points. Again, these are surprising. All 3 of these teams, I respect them a lot. I guess I didn't see them. I think they had just really tough draws. I don't exactly know them off the top of my head, but I just know that as I went through, I just didn't see them winning many games. And yes, all 3 of these teams landed with 4 points, and I'm talking about PSV Eindhoven. PSV, great side. I mean, they won the Eredivisie last season, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, 4 points is all they could muster in my predictions. I could be completely wrong. They could finish even as top 8, but I don't see it, at least based off the predictions that I made. And yeah, I think all 3 of those teams will have similar moments and similar Champions League campaigns, unfortunately. Although, massive respect to them, I hope they do better than I predict. In 31st, we do have Sporting CP, yes, the other Portuguese side. They finished with 5 points based on my predictions. I mean, with the loss of Gyökeres, and just overall, I mean, they do have that new striker, I forgot his name, but I know he's doing pretty well, and I hope they can do better than I'm predicting. But yeah, that's 2 Portuguese sides already knocked out according to my predictions. They only managed 5 points in my predictions, and then 1 up above that is Slavia Praha, finished with 6 points, so good on them for getting 6 points. But I mean, I think they'll get trounced by a few teams, including, I believe, Barcelona plays them. And I mean, we've faced them before. We kind of always face them in like the group stages and stuff like that. We've been doing it for quite a few seasons. I think we even did it last season. But yeah, I think it's gonna be quite easy for us and other big teams to just destroy Slavia Praha. But massive respect to them if they do any better. But yeah, 29th, or is it 30th place for them, I believe. One place above that, you might be a little surprised as to who I have here, but it is FC Kairat. Yes, I do have this team. I've never heard of them before. This is the first time I've ever heard of them, but I do see them doing pretty well, including a special victory that I will talk about once we get to the focus, but I do see them getting a huge victory over a pretty decently big team. I will talk about it later, like I said, but I do see them getting 7 points. I believe that was 2 wins and 1 draw. Just based off of my personal opinion, I think they'll have one of the biggest shockers, and they'll put in one of the better performances, but just not get enough points and drop as low as 29th. But they can hold their heads up high based off of the performance that they put in. That's my personal opinion. And then with the same amount of points, just 1 place above them, better goal difference, I do have Union Saint-Gilloise, another Belgian side. I believe they won the league title last season over the likes of Club Brugge and a few other great teams. But good on them. They have a decent side, but I don't see them doing too well, hence why I have them in the elimination spots. But I know they could do better than I expect. It's still 7 points for them. I don't think it's too bad, but good luck. Now we have the final 3 teams in this elimination, this elimination group, and it really pains me to say these 3 teams because honestly, all 3 of these teams are pretty big, and they all finish on 8 points, just 1 point behind the 24th place, meaning that they don't get in. And I'm going to talk about all 3 of them because I basically see them having a similar Champions League campaign similar to what I talked about earlier. But the 3 teams are Athletic Club de Bilbao. I know that's a little bit of a shocker. Frankfurt, again, big shock. And I think the biggest shock of all, apparently, according to my predictions, Atletico Madrid. Yes, I know, Atletico Madrid have had some decent pedigree, a really good pedigree in the Champions League. I mean, they made it to a few Champions League finals a few seasons ago, and, you know, they've put up really good performances. But overall, I mean, have you seen the start to the season? And maybe I'm getting carried away, pretty reactionary. I can definitely see them making even top 8. But I can see all 3 of these teams making, being in the playoffs, but even higher in the playoffs. Based off of the draws, based off the games that they had, I don't know, I just saw them losing a few too many games and ending up with 8 points and getting eliminated from the Champions League. And that's where I'll leave it off for all those 3 because I think they are all similar campaigns. But unfortunate, bye-bye to those 3, and bye-bye to the rest of those, to all the eliminated teams that I have predicted. But we will move on to the playoff spots, where this gets a little bit more interesting because of the teams that I haven't mentioned yet. Alright, so we have yet another bit of a group here. They all finished on 9 points according to my predictions. I know we're gonna lump a few of these into groups just because I don't want this video to get too long. It may already be way longer than I initially first wanted it to be. But anyways, we're gonna talk about Ajax, Atalanta, Bayer Leverkusen, and Olympique Marseille. Now, Bayer Leverkusen have also not had a great start, but they have since sacked their manager, Erik ten Hag, and I know there's been a few other things, but they've had massive, massive changes. So many different things have happened over Bayer Leverkusen, and I'm starting with them first because I know it's one of the bigger shocks that they're as low as they finished, or at least where they finished on my predictions. I know they should be a little bit higher, but I mean, they lost the likes of their captain, Jonathan Tah. They lost their manager, Xabi Alonso. They lost Florian Wirtz. They lost Jeremy Frimpong, and yes, they've run in some replacements, but are they going to step up as much as the other teams? I mean, the other players, I don't think so. Along with that, Marseille, they are a decent side, but they had a pretty tough draw, if I'm not mistaken. There were some pretty big teams that just, took away too many points from them. But with that being said, I mean, they still all made it to the group of playoffs, so I can definitely see them doing something. They can even make it all the way to maybe even the final. You never know. But Ajax, Marseille, Atalanta, and Marseille, and Bayer Leverkusen, sorry. I think they all have a similar story. They have lost quite a few players. They are not as big as they can be or should be or have been. Atalanta lost their manager, and then they also lost Retegui, and I know they still have Lookman, but they could definitely do better. And Lookman, he might be gone in January, to be honest, and there's still 2 more games in January, so who knows. But anyways, also Ajax, didn't talk about them much, but I think they lost Brian Robbie. That's a pretty big loss for them. Regardless, I just overall think they will have similar campaigns. I keep saying this, but 9 points. That was the cutoff point for the eliminated team, so they scraped it just barely at 1 point, but they made it through, and we'll see what they can do. And I could be wrong about them, but hopefully I'm not. So with 3 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses, unfortunately, this team, I don't know why, but I'm kind of hyped for them. And they can easily be an eliminated side. I guess I just have more faith in them. I really don't know why, but I have a feeling that they might be one of these dark horses. And this prediction could fall completely flat, but they finished with 10 points, just above the rest of the teams that I talked about previously, and it is Bodo Glimt. Yes, I believe that this team, they have some pretty solid showings, even in the Europa League. Last season, they made it all the way, to the quarters or semifinals, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were knocked out by Spurs, who eventually went on to win it. I can definitely see them doing a pretty decent, run in this Champions League campaign. I mean, I had them getting 3 wins and 1 draw. Is that too realistic? Is that realistic? No, but you never know. 10 points for Bodo Glimt, finishing in the playoff spot. Could they make a playoff spot? I think they can. As high as they did in my predictions, probably not. But, I mean, it wasn't that high regardless. But, still, who knows? Next 2, I'm going to group up because they have the exact same amount of points. But, they have the same, trajectory. They got 4 wins and 4 losses. They got 12 points. And there is another team that also made 12 points, but not in the same way that they did. I will talk about that team later, but the first 2 teams that I'm talking about with the 12 points, because they are right back to back, it is actually Olympiacos and Copenhagen. Yes, these 2, again, very similar vibe to Bodo Glimt. They have, history in the Champions League. They, in just Europe overall, and I feel like they can do something in this Champions League campaign. And again, I don't know why I had them winning so many games. I guess their runs were a little bit easier than expected. Some of the teams that they had to face, I can see them slipping up, and they feel like a potential banana peel for some of those big teams. But I could be wrong in these predictions, but 12 points is what I gave them. 12 points is how they finished, and they finished in a pretty decent place in the playoff spot with 12 points. Actually tied with another pretty decently big team, in my personal opinion, Newcastle. Newcastle, I had them winning 3 games and drawing 3, and losing 2, obviously, to make up for it. But that amounts to 12 points as well. So they actually had less wins than the previous 2, but they still had the same amount of points, and they finished 1 place higher than them. But still, Newcastle, I can definitely see them being a potential banana skin for the bigger teams, and could definitely scrape out some results. That's why I had them get so many draws. I mean, they got 3 draws, the same amount as wins. And Newcastle, I mean, with Nick Woltemade, I think that's a humongous signing. I mean, as of the day that I'm recording this, he just scored his first goal up against Wolves, and that was the game winner. They grabbed the 3 points in the Premier League. They're finally doing a little bit better. Obviously, they lost Alexander Isak, but they kept the rest of the side, and it's a really good side. I mean, solid midfield with Tonali, Joelinton, and Bruno Guimaraes. They have Nick Woltemade, like I mentioned. They have Anthony Gordon, who's been suspended, but he's coming back very soon. You never know. This Newcastle side, just keep an eye out, because I definitely think they could put in a really good shift in the Champions League. Maybe put in a shocker for a top 8, but for me, finishing in a solid place like this one, it's appropriate for me. Moving into the top 8 of the playoff finishers, we do have a few good teams. I'm going to split it off into 4 and 4, despite the fact that they have different points totals. But the first 4 that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to label them as kind of like the underdogs that can definitely be dark horses and could finish in the top 8. I can definitely see them having a little bit more luck and having a few more points than I gave them in the run-through that I did. And that is Galatasaray, AS Monaco, Borussia Dortmund, and Villarreal. The first three, they actually finished on the exact amount of points with 13, and then Villarreal got 1 point more, 14, tied with another team that I will mention in just a second. But those four teams can definitely, I mean, they're pretty decently sized teams. They have great fan bases, and they can definitely put up a really good fight up against the big teams, but they're inconsistent. I feel like they can definitely be there when it matters and can, show off and score a lot of goals and just demolish some teams. But then they can lose to a Gairat or a Paphos or even Karabakh. You never know. But I don't see that fully happening. I feel like they'll kind of level it out. They'll lose a few games, they'll win a few games, hence why they're not in the top 8. But I do have them finishing in the top half of the playoffs because I feel like they can definitely put up a really good fight and, show off when they need to and show off what they can. Dortmund have had a pretty decent window. I know they may have lost a few players, but they also brought in the likes of Joe Bellingham and just overall have a decent side, even though they've been rather inconsistent. AS Monaco, very interesting team that can definitely push for the top 8. Can be a little bit of a surprise with Pogba hopefully making his debut very soon. Ansu Fati also hopefully making his debut very soon. But they did lose one of their best players in Ben Seguir, if I'm not mistaken. He left to Bayer Leverkusen. Great pickup by Leverkusen, by the way. But they could definitely do a little bit better. But you can never know. I don't know exactly what they can do. Also Galatasaray, I'm a little bit biased. I did a whole series on them. We built up an amazing side. Also, I'm just saying, they were interested in signing Hakan Çalhanoğlu, so was I. They brought in Leroy Sané. I brought in a few other amazing players. They brought in İlkay Gundogan. How? Also, one more quick mention. Just a little bit of tangent. Edson Alvarez has gone on loan to Fenerbahce. I find that very funny because we managed Galatasaray, but we brought in Edson Alvarez to the Turkish league and we kept him there for a few seasons. I'm just saying, I kind of predicted it. Him going to the Turkish league, I don't want him to do that in real life. I'm kind of angry about that, but it's okay. Anyways, Villarreal, I do want to talk about Villarreal just one quick sec. They are a really good side. They just lost to Atletico Madrid 2-0, and again, the day that I'm recording, but hopefully they can show off as they have done. I mean, they made it all the way to the semifinals just a few seasons ago, or half a decade ago, I think. So, no, a little bit less. I think like 4 years ago. Anyways, but still, Villarreal, solid side, and they kind of know how to get results in Europe. So don't count them out just yet. But like I said, it's kind of like the underdogs category. But moving on to the upper echelon, final 4 of this playoff side. The final 4 that made it 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. I will go from 12th all the way up to 9th. They are kind of the big dogs who can show up, but have not been as good as in recent years, but also just, they're just big teams. I'm just going to label them big teams. Yeah, big teams. Starting in 12th, I will say Man City did finish in 12th, tied with Villarreal with 14 points, and then we do get another point up with Juventus, grabbed 15 in my predictions, and then the final 2 did grab 16 points each in Inter and Napoli. They finished, as I said, 10th and 9th. Inter finished in 10th, Napoli finished in 9th. They can easily, all 4 of these teams, I can definitely see them finishing top 8. Man City a little bit more so based on the quality of the players and the manager that they have, but they've lost to Spurs and Brighton already this season, so I can see them still having a little bit of inconsistencies similar to last season. Juventus, they've actually really impressed me this season, especially this huge victory over Inter Milan. Again, I think it was earlier today that, honestly, I can definitely see them pushing for maybe not the Champions League title, but going further than anybody predicted or most people would predict, and also possibly winning the Scudetto this season. I'm just saying, they made some very smart signings. Openda was a signing out of nowhere. I know it's on loan, but still. Jonathan David, top and a half for them. And overall, just a really good side, and I'm very excited for Juventus this season. Kenan Yildiz, watch out for him. He's going to be phenomenal. He has been phenomenal, and wow, this player, top notch. But Inter Milan, I can definitely see them going a little bit lower, but also a little bit higher. I mean, they made it all the way to the final, got thrashed by PSG, and they also took out Barcelona. But regardless, I did still have them finishing in 10th, very close to that top 8, and Napoli just a space above, or one place above. I mean, they won the Scudetto last season, and they've only gotten stronger. I know they brought in Rasmus Højlund. Some people may not like that. I think it's a really good signing, in my personal opinion. And same with, of course, you have to mention it, in Kevin De Bruyne. Fantastic signing. He's already got so many goal contributions. He just scored a penalty and got an assist for Rasmus Højlund, if I'm not mistaken, in their last game where they won up against Fiorentina 3-1. I'm just saying, Napoli looks kind of scary. Much scarier than I'd like to admit. They could definitely finish in the top 8. Alright, so the last section here is, of course, the top 8. And we're going to go from 8 all the way up to first place. And you know what? Just sneaking in there, they had the exact same run and the exact same amount of points as Napoli and Inter. They got 5 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. It's actually Chelsea. But the main reason why they even snuck into the top 8 was because of the goal difference. I think they'll have a pretty decent goal difference, mostly down to the draw that they got. I think a few of the teams they'll be able to thrash, get a lot of goals, and help them get that goal difference, increase it as much as possible to help them propel into the top 8. But Chelsea can be a little bit of a dark horse for this Champions League campaign, although they started off decent, somewhat decent. I mean, they drew against Crystal Palace and just drew another game. Cole Palmer's back. I know he was out for a few games, but he's back, and I know there's been talks about being a little bit over-reliant. I don't know, maybe in the Premier League they're not that great, but maybe in the Champions League they'll do a lot better. And I think their draw wasn't too hard on them, so that's why they got as many points as they did. But you never know. Chelsea is the first top 8 side. So in 7th and 6th, I just looked at it. They actually got the exact same amount of points. They had the exact same record and the exact same amount of goal difference. I don't know why they placed the other team ahead. I'm going to say it how it's placed so you guys can see the table, but in 7th it is Real Madrid, and in 6th it's Tottenham Hotspurs. Yep, I have Spurs finishing in 6th and Real Madrid in 7th. They can easily interchange, and I think Real Madrid will honestly do a little bit better than where I put them, mostly because of one result that I have in my mind. I will talk about it a little bit later, but anyways, Real Madrid did end up with 17 points, same with Tottenham Hotspurs. They finished with 17. And I can definitely see them slipping up with a few banana peels of sides, you know, some underdogs that maybe finished in the playoff round or in the playoff spots. But I think Real Madrid will have a very impressive Champions League showing. 7th may not look like it, but honestly, with this new format, it's going to be a lot more impressive than everybody thinks. Finishing top 8 is a huge advantage at the 2 less games that they don't have to play, and with all the fixture congestion that's happening, especially with all the World Cup qualifiers, all the international breaks that we're going to have to be taking, it's going to be detrimental, especially for Champions League sides that want to compete for the Champions League title, because those tired legs and possible injuries, I don't want to talk about it, but possible injuries, it's going to be bad, and I think Real Madrid finishing in the top 8 quite comfortably. It may not look comfortable based on my predictions, but I think they will easily grab top 8, maybe even top 3, or top 5, I should say. But yeah, I don't want to say that, but for me, they finished in 7th, technically 6th because I don't want to put them below Spurs. But Spurs also really good side. I mean, they made some fantastic signings in Mohamed Kudus and then Xavi Simons. I still can't believe they got Xavi Simons. That's such a good signing. And I mean, the game that they had just against West Ham today, they dominated. Honestly, they were really good. I mean, West Ham did have a pretty decent amount of chances, and they did get a red card. But still, Xavi Simons grabbed his first goal contribution, grabbed an assist, and just overall, Lucas Bergwijn, fantastic heading goal. And just overall, Spurs is looking completely different than last season. I mean, they won the Europa League, hence why they're even in this competition. They finished in 17th in the Premier League. But so far, they've got 9 points out of 12 in this league campaign so far. It's pretty impressive. Moving up into 5th place now, and starting from this point on, it's literally a 1-point difference. And the entire way through, not even a single team is tied on points. It's literally just 1 point difference between all the teams. And in 5th place, I have Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I had them winning 6 games and getting 2 losses. and that would put them on 18 points, which is exactly what they got. And I think they will slip up just those 2 times. It'll be very tough, but I think they will. I know Bayern Munich have some tough opponents, but some rather easy opponents where they can easily grab some pretty huge victories. Bayern Munich, when they get some smaller sides in the Champions League, have proven to just kind of batter them and get huge goal differences against them, and that kind of helped them in this case. But I mean, goal difference didn't really matter. They got 1 more point above Spurs and Real Madrid. They could help them out based off of, well, if they tie on points, and I think they could, maybe with the likes of a Real Madrid. Who knows? I know I put them in this 5th place, but they can definitely just shift around. In 4th place, I know this is going to be a little bit controversial, and just by saying it, I'm going to tell you it's one of these 3 teams. And obviously, Liverpool, I would argue they might even be the best team in the world right now, based off the humongous transfer window that they had. Barca is up there. And as biased as I am, I'm gonna have to say PSG is in 4th place for me. I know, I am biased. So yes, Barcelona is a little bit higher, but, or maybe they're next. Anyways, let's focus on the team that I just said, PSG. Yes, the Champions League winners. It still doesn't even come that much of a shock to me, because as good as PSG are, they have an amazing side. They do face Barcelona, which I think will be a very good match to watch. I will mention it. But also, they do lack a little bit of that intensity, in my personal opinion. I mean, they just recently won 6-3 against Toulouse, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, João Neves was absolutely phenomenal. He scored 2 bicycle kicks and then scored another rocket of a shot that completed his hat-trick, but they still conceded 3 goals. Yes, it was in the dying minutes, but still conceding 3 goals. A little bit shaky. And I know they also have injuries to Doué and Dembélé that would actually even take them out of the Barcelona game, which is unfortunate for us because I do want to play PSG at their full strength. But then again, we also have our own injuries, but that's besides the point. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But PSG don't strike me as the side to like go all in for the league phase. I mean, they barely finished in the playoffs last season, and yet they won the entire thing. They had to go through the playoffs, destroyed Brest in the playoffs, and then they kept going. They even beat Liverpool, I believe, in the round of 16 on penalties. That was an incredible just victory overall. Donnarumma was inspired those 2 games. And just overall, PSG made it all the way through. And they won it. You don't have to be in the top 8 to win it. But, I'm just saying, top 4 seems feasible. They can even be the number 1 team quite easily. And based off of where people land, or the teams land, you never know what you might get. I mean, Liverpool finished 1st, and they still had to face PSG in the round of 16, which is very unfortunate. But, anyways, moving on into 3rd place, I do have Liverpool. Yes, that leaves 2 more teams, Barcelona and Arsenal. I'll talk about it in just a second. Right? Don't get ahead of me. Liverpool. Let's focus on Liverpool. Liverpool obviously crashed out in the round of 16, unfortunately, to the eventual winners in PSG. But Liverpool have had a wonderful transfer window. They brought in Jeremy Frimpong to replace Trent Alexander-Arnold. Not to mention they still have Conor Bradley, and also Dominic Szoboszlai having a fantastic performance overall as right back. I believe he's already played 2 games at right back, and they are 3 wins from 3. They play Burnley tomorrow. But anyways, moving on, they also brought in the likes of Milos Kerkez, one of the best left backs, to replace Andy Robertson, or basically just take over that starting left back spot. And then while they didn't invest too much in midfield, they did bring in Florian Wirtz, well, technically a midfielder, as an attacking midfielder. And then that was breaking the transfer record for them. And then they did it again by signing Alexander Isak. Why? They also signed Ugo Ekitike, who was another striker. They brought in 2 very amazing strikers, and Ugo Ekitike has already proven to be a great signing. He spent so much money, but with all those amazing transfers, I still don't see them doing as well as people would think. I just think that's a lot of money to spend, and it could be more of a detriment than a help. I'm not saying that they're not good players. I'm not saying that it'll hurt them. It just, I don't know. Something about this gives me vibes that like there could be something to derail them from a monstrous season. I'm not saying that they won't win the Premier League. I'm not saying that they won't win the Champions League. I mean, I did predict Arsenal to win the Premier League, but I do think it just doesn't give me the vibe that that Liverpool will be the very best. Again, I don't know. I could be wrong, but yeah, Liverpool in third place. They will get 6 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss, in my personal opinion. And then in second place, I do have Arsenal. Yes, I'm gonna say it. I have Barcelona in first place. Yes, I'm biased. Okay, I am biased. I'm gonna say it. I'm biased. Call it what you may say. I'm aware, but let's focus on the Arsenal, okay? Arsenal, they finished in second place based off of the predictions that I made on the match days and everything. Arsenal got 7 wins and 1 loss. I forgot who that loss came to. I might mention it. But anyways, I do see them having a wonderful Champions League campaign, pushing it further. I mean, they went all the way to the semifinals last season. They even thrashed Real Madrid, thank you Arsenal, on the way there. And then, unfortunately, they did lose to PSG. PSG were just phenomenal last season, and they could definitely do it this season again. But overall, Arsenal have proven to be a formidable side, not only in the Premier League, but also in Europe and the Champions League. Hence why I have them finishing as high as second place. They could even take that first place spot. They had a rather favorable draw, in my personal opinion. That loss that I gave them, honestly, that was just to slip them up a little bit, because I can definitely see them slipping up because they're just a little bit inexperienced, or overall because they do have a rather young team, or there could be a little bit of an injury that could set them back. I know I mentioned that I'm not taking too many injuries into account, but I do feel that Arsenal may slip up just maybe once, maybe twice, but I think maybe just once. Either way, Arsenal second place. I think that's a pretty decent finish, and congratulations to them. Moving on to, of course, my beloved Barcelona. I'm aware that I'm very biased in this. I'm giving them 7 wins and 1 draw. Yes, unbeaten. Not a full 8 for 8, okay? But I don't know. My bias, you can call me biased. I know I could be completely wrong in this. They might not even finish top 8, but I do see them finishing top 8. Not guaranteed, obviously, because nothing's guaranteed, but I do see them having another impressive Champions League campaign. I think the fight will be just drilled in them yet again by Hansi Flick. I mean, the team that we have is absolutely phenomenal, and it's only getting a little bit better. The signings that we had, I mean, Joan Garcia has proven to be a fantastic new goalkeeper for us. Not to mention, I know we lost Inigo Martinez, but we do still have Kouarsi, we have Christensen, who's coming back from injury, who will definitely play a more pivotal role. I mean, Eric Garcia is playing a more pivotal role as well. Alejandro Valde, hopefully we can keep him fit. While I'm saying that, I know he's injured at the moment. But then we also have Marc Bernal coming back from injury, and he will also play a pivotal role. And then we also signed Rooney Bargi, or Rooney Bardghji, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but Marcus Rashford. I'm very excited about that signing, and I hopefully he hasn't really proved himself yet, but he hasn't had any minutes yet, but hopefully he'll get more minutes, and especially in the Champions League, prove himself to be what he has been for Manchester United in the past, and what he can do. He's reaching his prime years, and I think he can definitely do it. I mean, he just scored with England, so hopefully he can do it for Barcelona, maybe score his first ever goal, and I will definitely be there. I definitely do see them playing against PSG, putting up a really good fight, and I have them winning. I mean, I gotta say it. But, yeah, I have them finishing in first place, being the top team in the Champions League, at least in the league phase. Alright, so match day 1, I'm gonna, looking back at it, I'm gonna say 2 big games that we should watch out for, or at least the ones that I'm going to be tuning in for, and kind of a shocker predictions for me. I'm going to say for the first match day, Napoli versus Man City. It's going to be a 3-3 draw. I believe it's at Man City's home stadium, and I think it's going to be a very entertaining game. I mean, KDB will go back to Man City, face his former side. I mean, he captained that side. We'll see if they can get a win, but I think it's going to be a draw, and I think it's going to be a very interesting draw for both sides. 3-3 for them. One more big game in the match day 1 is Bayern Munich versus Chelsea. It's at Bayern Munich's home stadium. I think Bayern Munich will get the draw 4-2, but I think it'll still be a tougher fight than everybody expects. I think Bayern Munich will get those goals rather late on. I think they'll get the third and game-winning goal. towards the end, and then in like stoppage time they'll get an extra goal to kind of like sentence it and make sure that it's game over. But it will be a 2-2 draw for quite a bit, or maybe even a 1-1 draw for quite a bit, but ultimately Bayern Munich will get the win towards the end. But in match day 2, I've alluded to both of these games, basically throughout all of the predictions. But I will say, obviously, Barcelona versus PSG will be a huge match to watch out for. I think it's going to finish a very interesting and thrilling 5-4 victory to Barcelona. But I mean, anything can happen. I think PSG can thrash us. I think we can thrash them. I think it could be a draw. But my personal prediction is going to be a 5-4 victory to Barcelona. And it'll be a similar game to Benfica. Maybe not where PSG is just like dominating and winning. But I think it'll be like absolute shootout going back and forth, back and forth. We score, they score, we score, they score, we score, they score. And stuff like that. But another one that I really wanted to mention, I've been alluding to it as well. FC Gairat will beat Real Madrid. I know that's a huge prediction, but that's the victory that I gave to Gairat, or one of the victories that I gave to Gairat, and just see it happening. It's at Gairat's home stadium. I know it's a long trip for the Madridistas, or the Madrid team, and I mean, it kind of always happens to Real Madrid. There's a unsuspecting team. Oh, they're not going to lose them. They're going to thrash them, and especially if it's away for them. And then they get a 1-0 victory, or 2-1 victory, or even a 3-2 victory. And then Real Madrid they're shell-shocked. Everybody's shell-shocked. And I can see this happening for Gairat to beat them. So if they win, I'm just saying, called it. But I could definitely see Real Madrid winning this game and finishing a little bit higher. In match day 3, I think one of the more interesting games will be AS Monaco versus Spurs. I gave Spurs the victory, a 2-1 victory away from home. I think it'll be very tough for AS Monaco. I think they'll have the lead for quite a bit, but Spurs will turn it around towards the end. I think they just will get the 3 points, hence why, I had them finishing in top 6. And with a win like this, I think it'll kind of be a statement of intent for Spurs. And on top of that, there will be another game that I'm very much looking forward to, is Real Madrid versus Juventus at Real Madrid's home stadium. I think it'll be a 3-2 victory for the Real Madrid side. But I think Juventus will make it very tough, and I think Real Madrid will have to take it all the way to like a 90th minute winner, or around that, a late minute winner, last minute winner, just because I think Juventus will give them a run for their money, as they have done in the past, even when they haven't been as good as they are now. So watch out for that game. Quite a few big games in match day 4, but I have to give it to PSG versus Bayern Munich. I'm going to give PSG the victory there, 3-2, and then there's going to be a Liverpool versus Real Madrid game that seems to always happen in the Champions League in recent years, but I am going to give it a 3-3 draw to both of the sides. I think they'll put up a lot of goals. It'll be some of the most entertaining games of the entire league campaign, so watch out for those 2 games. But also, slight shout out to Inter Milan versus FC Gairat. Match day 5, and I'm going to be going a little bit faster just because I'm realizing this is going to be a longer video than I wanted it to be, but I have to mention Chelsea versus Barcelona. Those will be the drop points for Barcelona. I think it'll be a 3-3 draw because it's at Stamford Bridge. I think that's a very tough stadium to go to, and it will be difficult for us to do it, and I feel we'll be a little bit too confident after winning the first 4 games, and we'll unfortunately get the draw, but still, 3-3 is respectable for both sides. And then there is also another interesting game, quite a few interesting games actually, but one that I really want to point out is actually Bodo Glimt getting a draw at their home stadium up against Juventus. It's going to be a 2-2 draw in my personal opinion. That was my prediction. But also Man City versus Leverkusen, 5-2. That's my personal prediction. Man City's at home by Leverkusen. Also, sorry, there's just some really good games in this match day, but also Atletico Madrid versus Inter Milan, and I think Atletico Madrid get a 1-0 victory. It's going to be tough, but I think they can do it. And after the 2 that I just mentioned, watch out, because I did have in the match day 6, the 2 teams that they faced off. Inter Milan faced Liverpool, and Atletico Madrid faced PSV away from home. Liverpool was away from home in this game. I think it'll be a 2-2 draw. I think Inter Milan will get the draw against Liverpool. Is that realistic? No, you never know. You never know. But it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup, and that's why I had them draw. Then Atletico Madrid versus PSV. I had PSV beating them. at their home stadium. I think PSV can get a win over Atletico Madrid because, as I said, it's been a pretty terrible start to the season for Atletico Madrid. Despite their transfer window, I think their transfer window was honestly spectacular. I really like their transfer window, but I don't know. My match day and the two games that I have to point out based off of my predictions, it just has to be the shocking victories of Bodo Glimt and Copenhagen at their home stadiums. Bodo Glimt, I had them beating Man City 1-0 at their home stadium, at Bodo Glimt's home stadium. And I also have Copenhagen beating Napoli 2-1 at Copenhagen's home stadium. I don't know. I see it happening. I don't know why. I just get the sensation that that's going to happen. So if I'm right, I'm just saying. We won't know for a few more months, but that'd be kind of cool. And for my final two games that I want to point out on the last match day, watch. The biggest one that I have to point out is PSG versus Newcastle. It's at PSG's home stadium, and I think it's going to be a lot closer than everybody thinks. And I think it's going to go down to the wire. Last-minute victory, last-minute win to PSG at their home stadium, and it'll be a 4-3 thriller. Very similar to what happened in Juventus versus Inter Milan. I want to see that for PSG Newcastle, and I could definitely see that happening. I think Newcastle will definitely give them a really tough game, maybe even win it. But I have PSG winning them, or beating them just barely. And then another one, honestly, a little bit of a shock win. Dortmund beating Inter Milan 2-1 at Dortmund's home stadium. Be careful. It just might happen. But anyways, those were my predictions, both some of the match days, and also just overall every single team, going from 36th all the way up to first place. You can call me a little bit biased, you can call me strange, you can call me crazy. Like I said, these are not accurate predictions. If they are even somewhat accurate, I will take that. But I went through all 144 games, not taking into too many things account. Of course, many things can happen. Injuries, I don't know, bad form, good form, you never know. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions. Let me know what you guys think about what are your predictions for the Champions League. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.